The massive council chamber of the Galactic Alliance fell silent as the holographic display showed the spreading darkness. The anomaly, a writhing mass of purple-black energy, had already consumed 3 solar systems in the past month. None of the Alliance's most advanced species could explain its nature or find a way to stop it. High Counselor Reed, a tall crystalline being, stood at the center of the chamber. His crystalline form flickered with nervous energy as he addressed the gathered representatives of 50 advanced civilizations. The anomaly continues to grow. Our best estimates show it will reach populated systems within 60 days. Reed's translated voice echoed through the chamber. We need volunteers to investigate it directly. Our remote probes have all failed. The chamber erupted in overlapping voices as various species began calculating odds of survival and discussing risk factors. The Lumen, beings of pure energy, declared the mission suicide with their mathematical models showing a 99.8% chance of death. The Mindweave Collective, a species of interconnected biological supercomputers, refused based on their prediction models. Perhaps, a voice cut through the chaos, we should ask the humans. The suggestion came from Ambassador Green, a reptilian diplomat known for his unusual ideas. The chamber fell silent again, but this time the silence carried a different weight, one of disbelief and barely contained amusement. The humans, High Counselor Reed's crystal structure flickered in what many recognize as surprise. You mean the species that requires multiple redundant safety systems for even their most basic space operations. The ones who refuse to use teleportation because they can't guarantee 100% safety. Another representative added with a laugh. The same species that demands 3 different backup plans for every space mission. A third voice chimed in. Ambassador Green remained steady. Yes, those humans. The ones who, despite their excessive caution, have never lost a deep space exploration crew in their 50 years of Alliance membership. The chamber grew quiet as the representatives considered this fact. Humans were indeed known throughout the galaxy for their paradoxical nature. They were the species that tested everything extensively before use, that always planned for the worst while hoping for the best, that seemed to fear everything, yet still ventured into space. High Counselor Reed's crystalline form pulsed with thought. They are the only species that still uses physical ships with life support systems for space exploration instead of consciousness projection. Exactly. Green nodded. Their primitive methods might be exactly what we need. Their ships are built to withstand almost anything because they're so afraid. The word afraid hung in the air. In the Alliance, fear was seen as a mark of lesser species, yet here they were, considering asking the cowardly humans for help, because no other species was willing to risk the unknown. Very well, Reed decided. Contact Earth's Space Command, but don't be surprised when they refuse like everyone else. 2 hours later, the council chamber was stunned into silence as they received Earth's response. Not only had the humans agreed to investigate, but they had already begun preparing a mission. Their only requests were for all available data on the anomaly and permission to approach it according to their own safety protocols. They're actually going to do it. Reed's voice carried a mix of disbelief and something else. Respect, perhaps. Yes, Green replied, watching the humans' preliminary mission plan scroll across the holographic display. Multiple backup systems, extensive safety protocols, worst-case scenario preparations, and enough redundancy to make any other species call it paranoid. They're going to do it precisely because they're afraid. They'll plan for every possibility, prepare for every scenario, and then face their fears head-on. As the council chamber emptied, the representatives of the galaxy's most advanced species found themselves contemplating a strange new thought. Perhaps what they had always seen as cowardice was something else entirely. Perhaps the humans' constant preparation and caution wasn't fear, but a different kind of courage. One that acknowledged danger but faced it anyway, armed with planning and preparation rather than blind bravado. The anomaly continued its ominous spread across space, But for the first time since its appearance, there was a glimmer of hope. The cowardly humans were coming. Earth's Space Command headquarters buzzed with activity. In the main control room, Admiral Jones studied the holographic projection of the anomaly, his weathered face illuminated by the purple-black glow of the mysterious phenomenon. Around him, dozens of analysts and scientists worked at their stations, processing data sent by the Galactic Alliance. "It's unlike anything we've encountered," Dr. Wilson, the head scientist, pointed to the swirling patterns in the display. "The energy readings are off the charts, and it seems to be growing. Learning, perhaps." The Admiral nodded slowly, his eyes never leaving the hologram. "And none of the Alliance's advanced species will investigate. Not even the energy beings." "No, sir. They've all calculated the risks as unacceptable." A small smile crossed the Admiral's face. "Then we'll do it our way. Call in Captain Walker." Captain James Walker arrived 20 minutes later. He was neither the strongest nor the most brilliant captain in Earth's fleet, but he was known for something else. He had never lost a crew member. His missions took longer than most, his preparations were more thorough, and other species often mocked his cautious approach. But his results spoke for themselves. "You've seen the data?" the Admiral asked. Walker nodded, his expression serious. "Yes, sir. I've already started drafting potential approach vectors and safety protocols." "Of course you have." The Admiral chuckled. "What's your assessment?" Walker stepped to the hologram and pointed to several areas. "We'll need to modify the ESS Venture's shields. Triple layer instead of the usual double. Add 2 more backup generators. Install the experimental sensor array we've been testing. And," he paused, "we'll need volunteers. I won't order anyone into this." Within an hour, the call for volunteers went out to the crew of the ESS Venture. The Alliance representatives present expected a long wait. Instead, responses began flooding in almost immediately. "I don't understand," one Alliance observer said, watching the crew roster fill up. "Your people know the risks. Why are they volunteering?" Dr. Wilson smiled as she checked the incoming responses. "Because they're scared." "That makes no sense," the observer protested. "Fear drives us to prepare," Walker explained, reviewing crew selections. "And preparation gives us confidence. We're not fearless. We're ready." Over the next 3 days, the ESS Venture underwent extensive modifications. The crew ran simulation after simulation, prepared for countless scenarios, and stored enough backup supplies to last a year. Other species watched in bewilderment as humans tested and retested every system, ran through every possible failure scenario, and continued to add safety measures that seemed excessive. "All this preparation," another Alliance observer commented, "it will take so much time. The anomaly grows larger every day." "Better to take an extra day to prepare," Walker replied, "than fail because we rushed in unprepared." Finally, the day of launch arrived. The ESS Venture sat ready on the launch pad, its hull gleaming with new modifications. Inside, every crew member knew their role, every backup plan, every emergency procedure. They were scared, yes, but they were ready. In the ship's briefing room, Walker addressed his crew one last time. "We've prepared as much as we can. We've planned for everything we can think of. And yes, we're heading into something unknown and dangerous. That's why they chose us. Not because we're fearless, but because we respect fear enough to prepare for it." The crew nodded, their faces showing determination mixed with healthy apprehension. They weren't hiding their fear. They were acknowledging it, using it, letting it drive their preparation and caution. As the ESS Venture lifted off, the Alliance observers watched in fascination. Here was a ship heading toward certain danger, crewed by beings who freely admitted their fear, yet moved forward anyway. Their launching procedures seemed unnecessarily complex, with multiple checks and rechecks, but not a single step was skipped. "Perhaps," one observer noted, "we've misunderstood them all this time." The ship disappeared into the upper atmosphere, carrying its cargo of cautious courage toward the waiting anomaly. Behind it, humanity held its breath, hoping their preparation would be enough. Ahead lay the unknown, but they faced it as humans always had, afraid, prepared, and determined. The mission to save the galaxy had begun, led by the only species cowardly enough to try. The ESS Venture approached the edge of the anomaly zone after 5 days of careful travel. The massive purple-black mass loomed ahead, swirling with strange energies that made the ship's sensors fluctuate wildly. In the command center, Captain Walker watched as his crew performed their final preparation checks. "Shield status?" Walker asked, his voice steady despite the tension. "Triple layers at full power, Captain." "All backup generators standing by," replied Engineer Miller from his station. "The new modifications are holding steady." The ship's sensors suddenly screamed with alerts as the anomaly pulsed. Everyone tensed, but nobody panicked. They'd practiced this scenario dozens of times in simulations. "Energy spike detected," Officer Roberts announced from the science station. "Exactly like Simulation 42. She was already implementing the practiced response, adjusting the shield's frequency. The Galactic Alliance observers aboard watched in amazement as the human crew calmly worked through their safety protocols. What they had originally mocked as paranoia over preparation now seemed remarkably prescient. "Beginning approach pattern Delta," the pilot announced, following the carefully plotted course. The ship moved forward at what other species would consider an agonizingly slow pace, its sensors constantly scanning and analyzing. The first direct contact with the anomaly's outer edge sent shivers through the ship's hull. The crew's hands tightened on their stations, but they continued their work. This was what all their preparation was for. "Energy patterns changing," Roberts reported. "It's responding to our presence." Walker leaned forward in his chair. "Implement Containment Protocol 3. Launch Probe Series A through D." 4 probes shot out from the ship, each designed to test different aspects of the anomaly. The crew watched as the probes transmitted data back, their multiple backup systems ensuring no information was lost. Suddenly, one probe disappeared completely. Then another. The third probe started sending back impossible readings before it too vanished. But the fourth probe, the one with the experimental shielding they'd added during their excessive preparation, continued to transmit. "Sir," Roberts called out, her voice tight with controlled excitement, "I'm detecting a pattern in the energy fluctuations. It's not random at all. It's ordered." The Alliance observers moved closer to the screens, their own sophisticated sensor systems confirming what the primitive human technology had discovered. This isn't a natural phenomenon, Walker realized. It's artificial. Someone or something made this. The anomaly pulsed again, stronger this time. The ship shuddered, but the triple-layered shields held firm. Other species would have retreated by now, but the humans pressed on, protected by their unnecessary safety measures. "Sir, the pattern. It's repeating. Like a beacon or a distress signal," Walker finished. "That's why it's expanding. It's trying to get attention." The revelation hit everyone on the bridge. What other species had seen as a deadly threat, the humans' cautious approach had revealed as a cry for help. As they pushed deeper into the anomaly, their multiple backup systems proved their worth. 2 shield layers failed, but the third held. Primary power went down, but the backup generators kicked in instantly. When communications with Earth became unstable, their redundant systems maintained the link. "All those extra precautions," one Alliance observer whispered, "they're actually going to survive this." The ESS Venture pressed forward, protected by the very things other species had ridiculed. Each safety measure, each backup system, each carefully planned protocol allowed them to go further than any other ship could have. "We're detecting a solid mass at the center," Roberts announced. "Definitely artificial. Size suggests a ship or station." Walker nodded, his expression focused. "Begin rescue protocols. All teams to stations. Remember your training." The crew moved with purpose, fear present but controlled, channeled into careful action and methodical response. They were about to attempt something no other species had dared, protected not by fearlessness, but by preparation. As the ESF Venture positioned itself near the mysterious object at the anomaly's heart, the galaxy watched in growing amazement. The cowardly humans, with their excessive safety measures and careful protocols, had achieved what no other species had thought possible. They weren't just surviving. They were succeeding, and they were about to prove that true courage wasn't about being fearless. It was about being prepared to face your fears. At the heart of the anomaly, the ESF Venture held position near what was now clearly visible as an ancient space station. The structure was massive, its architecture unlike anything in the Alliance database. Purple-black energy coursed across its surface in intricate patterns. "Structural scan complete," Officer Roberts announced. "The station appears to be powered but damaged. There's a stable section that matches our emergency dock protocols." Captain Walker nodded. "Begin docking procedures. Full containment protocols in effect." The Alliance observers watched as the humans methodically prepared for boarding. Each crew member triple-checked their environment suits, even though the station showed breathable atmosphere. They prepared backup air supplies, emergency beacons, and multiple communication systems. "Such waste of time," one observer muttered. "The station is clearly functional." As if in response to those words, the station's energy patterns suddenly fluctuated. Emergency alerts blared through the ship as new readings poured in. "Energy surge detected," Roberts called out, similar to the pattern that destroyed the first probes. But the humans were ready. Their wasteful preparations paid off as protective measures activated automatically. The ship's enhanced shields absorbed the energy pulse that would have destroyed a less protected vessel. "Docking complete," the pilot reported. "All seals holding." Walker addressed the boarding team. "Remember your training. No risks, no heroics. We do this by the book." The boarding team, led by First Officer Mary Cooper, moved carefully through the docking tunnel. Their excessive sensor equipment scanned everything, their backup systems continuously monitoring for threats. Inside the station, they found corridors lined with complex machinery, all still humming with power. The architecture was both beautiful and alien, with sweeping curves and impossible angles. "These markings," Cooper said, studying the walls. "They're not just decorative, they're carrying energy through the station's structure." As they moved deeper into the station, their careful approach revealed more. Hidden panels that would have triggered defense systems were avoided thanks to their thorough scans. Dangerous energy buildups were detected and safely bypassed. "Look at this," Cooper called out, standing before a massive control room. The walls were covered in flowing symbols that pulsed with the same purple-black energy that formed the anomaly. The team's linguist began documenting everything while their engineers studied the technology. Every discovery was carefully recorded and verified through multiple systems. Then Cooper noticed something in the pattern of the energy flow. These sequences, they're not random. They're repeating, just like the anomaly's pulses. She began inputting the patterns into their analysis systems. The Alliance observers watched skeptically as the humans methodically documented and cross-referenced every detail. Suddenly, Cooper's eyes widened. "Captain," she called over the comm, "I think I understand what this place is. It's not just a station. It's a regulatory facility for space-time itself." The control room's displays came alive as Cooper carefully interfaced their systems with the station. The humans' insistence on compatibility protocols, mocked as unnecessary by other species, now allowed them to safely connect with the ancient technology. The station was designed to prevent dimensional irregularities, Cooper explained. But something damaged it. Instead of containing problems, it's been accidentally creating them. The anomaly isn't an attack, it's a malfunction. The station's systems responded to their careful probing, revealing more of its secrets. The humans' methodical approach, their insistence on understanding before acting, was exactly what was needed. The station's builders, Cooper continued, they left fail-safes, but they needed someone cautious enough to find them. someone who wouldn't rush in and make things worse. Walker's voice came over the comm. "Can we fix it?" "Yes," Cooper replied, studying the systems, "but it will take time. We'll need to carefully reset each system, test every connection. One mistake could make everything worse. Then we'll take all the time we need," Walker decided. "Do it right, do it safely." The Alliance observers finally understood. The humans' caution, their endless preparation and careful protocols, hadn't held them back. It had made them uniquely qualified for this mission. Their cowardly approach had revealed answers that bolder species would have missed. The galaxy's fate now rested in the hands of the species that insisted on reading the manual first, and for the first time, no one was laughing at their caution. Hours into the repair operation, the ancient station's systems began to show signs of stress. The purple-black energy patterns grew more erratic, pulsing with increasing intensity. In the control room, First Officer Cooper and her team worked steadily, following their carefully planned procedures despite the growing danger. "Power fluctuations are increasing," Engineer Miller reported, his eyes fixed on their monitoring equipment. "The station's core is becoming unstable." The Alliance observers had long since stopped their subtle mockery of human caution. Now they watched in tense silence as the crew dealt with one crisis after another, their preparation continuously proving its worth. "Another surge coming," someone called out. The station shuddered violently. Emergency lights flashed as systems began to overload. But the humans didn't panic. Instead, they moved with practiced precision, implementing the emergency protocols they drilled countless times. "The containment field is failing," Cooper announced, her voice steady despite the chaos. "The station's trying to compensate, but it's making things worse." Captain Walker's voice came through the comm. "All teams, begin Emergency Procedure 7. We prepared for this." The humans' seemingly excessive planning now proved invaluable. As systems failed, backup measures activated automatically. When primary tools overloaded, reserve equipment was ready. Every disaster scenario they'd prepared for was becoming reality, and they were ready for each one. "Sir," Miller called out, "the core's reaction is different from our simulations. The energy pattern is evolving." This was the moment other species had feared, when plans failed and chaos took over. But the humans had prepared for this too. They'd trained not just for specific scenarios, but for adapting when those scenarios changed. Cooper quickly organized the team into their emergency response groups. Team 1, focus on power regulation. Team 2, monitor structural integrity. Team 3, with me on core containment. The station's energy began to pulse faster, each wave stronger than the last. Equipment started failing despite their precautions. The situation was deteriorating rapidly, pushing beyond even their careful preparations. "The core's going critical," Miller announced. "Our containment measures aren't enough." The Alliance observers began backing toward the escape route, but the humans held their ground. They'd prepared for this moment, not just with equipment and protocols, but mentally. Cooper studied the energy patterns, her mind racing through their training. "The pattern," she muttered. "It's not just evolving, it's adapting. Like it's alive." That's when Miller had an idea. "What if we stopped fighting it?" he suggested. "All our simulations assumed we needed to contain the energy, but what if we need to guide it instead?" Cooper quickly grasped his thinking. This was why humans trained for adaptation, not just procedures. The station wasn't meant to contain the energy, she realized. It was meant to direct it. The station shuddered again, more violently this time. Systems were failing faster now, but the humans remained focused. Their fear drove them not to panic, but to think, to adapt, to find solutions. "We need to reconfigure the containment fields," Cooper ordered. "Don't try to stop the energy. Create channels for it to flow." The team moved with purpose, their extensive training allowing them to adapt their procedures on the fly. Equipment was repurposed, power systems reconfigured, all while the station threatened to tear itself apart. The Alliance observers watched in amazement as the humans worked through the crisis. Where other species would have retreated, the humans pressed on. Their fear didn't paralyze them. It energized them, made them more careful, more focused. As the station's core reached critical levels, the humans' modified approach began to show results. The energy patterns started to stabilize, finding new paths through the channels they'd created. "It's working," Miller called out. "But we need more time." Cooper looked at her team, saw the fear in their eyes matched with determination. They were scared, yes, but they were prepared. They had trained for this, not this exact scenario, but for the need to adapt, to think, to persist despite their fear. "Then we'll make time," she declared. "Remember your training. We're not done yet." The station's core pulsed again, and the final phase of the crisis began. The humans' greatest test lay ahead, but they faced it as they faced everything. Afraid, prepared, and determined to succeed. The ancient station's core chamber blazed with purple-black energy as First Officer Cooper and Engineer Miller implemented their desperate plan. The rest of the team worked furiously to maintain the new energy channels while the ESS Venture stood ready outside, its modified shields protecting it from the intensifying waves of power. "Channel 3 is failing," a technician called out. Without hesitation, the backup team moved in, their practice drills paying off as they smoothly took over the failing systems. Core temperature rising beyond predicted levels. Miller reported, his hands flying over the controls. "We need to widen the channels, or they'll collapse." The Alliance observers had retreated to the ship, but maintained contact through the humans' redundant communication systems, another excessive preparation that was now proving essential. "The energy pattern is changing again," Cooper noted, studying the readings. "It's becoming more organized, almost purposeful." Captain Walker's voice came through their comms. "Status report." "We're holding, sir," Cooper replied, "but barely. The energy isn't just moving through the channels anymore. It's learning from them." The station shuddered violently. Warning alerts blared as structural integrity began to fail in multiple sections. But the humans had prepared for this too. Emergency force fields activated automatically, containing the damage. "Look at this," Miller called suddenly, pointing to his readings. "The energy isn't trying to escape, it's trying to communicate." Cooper moved to his station, her eyes widening as she saw the patterns. Their careful observation and detailed monitoring, habits other species had called wasteful, had revealed something extraordinary. The station, she realized, it's not just regulating space-time, it's an interface point. The core pulsed again, stronger than ever. But this time, the humans were ready with a different approach. Instead of trying to contain or redirect the energy, they began adjusting their systems to receive what it was trying to tell them. "Reconfiguring sensors," Miller announced. "Using all backup systems to boost reception." Their multiple redundant systems, once mocked as unnecessary, now provided the processing power they desperately needed. Each backup computer, each auxiliary sensor, became part of a massive receiving array. The station's energy patterns suddenly shifted, forming complex geometric shapes in the air. The humans' careful preparation allowed them to record and analyze every detail of this phenomenon. "It's a language," Cooper breathed. "The station isn't malfunctioning. It's been trying to talk to us." The team quickly implemented their first contact protocols, another set of procedures they had extensively prepared for, despite other species calling it unnecessary paranoia. "Beginning basic response patterns," Miller reported. He carefully initiated a series of energy pulses, using the channels they'd created to communicate back. The station's core responded immediately. The violent energy surges began to calm, becoming more controlled, more precise. The human crew's cautious approach had succeeded where brute force would have failed. "We're establishing a dialogue," Cooper reported to the ship. "The station's original builders, they left this interface for a reason. They needed someone careful enough, patient enough, to find it and understand it. The Alliance observers watched in amazement as the humans' excessive preparation and caution achieved what no other species had thought possible. Their fear hadn't held them back. It had made them ready for this moment. "Power levels stabilizing," Miller announced. "The channel network is holding. We can maintain this connection." The station's energy patterns settled into a steady rhythm, no longer threatening to tear reality apart. The humans' careful approach had transformed a crisis into a breakthrough. "Begin full documentation," Cooper ordered. "Every detail, every reading. We do this right." As the situation stabilized, the true magnitude of their achievement became clear. The humans' cautious nature, their insistence on preparation and safety, hadn't just saved them. It had opened up communication with an ancient civilization's legacy. The galaxy's most cowardly species had succeeded where the bravest had failed, not through fearlessness, but through careful preparation and the wisdom to respect the unknown. The crisis wasn't over yet, but its nature had changed. Now they faced not a threat to be contained, but a message to be understood. And thanks to their preparation, they were ready for this challenge too. 3 days after establishing communication with the ancient station, the ESS Venture's crew made their final preparations to depart. The once threatening anomaly had transformed into a stable, controlled field of energy that now served its original purpose, a beacon and library left by an ancient civilization. In the station's control room, First Officer Cooper and Engineer Miller worked with their team to establish permanent monitoring systems. Their excessive documentation habits had already preserved more information than any quick exploration could have revealed. "Final system check complete," Miller reported. "The automated maintenance protocols are running perfectly." Captain Walker stood on the bridge of the ESS Venture, watching the station through the main viewport. The purple-black energy now flowed in elegant, controlled patterns, no longer a threat to the galaxy. "Message from Galactic Alliance Command," the communications officer announced. "There, requesting our procedures and protocols for future missions." A small smile crossed Walker's face. The same protocols that had been mocked as cowardly were now being recognized as essential. The Alliance had learned what humans had always known, that true courage meant being prepared to face your fears, not pretending they didn't exist. "Send them everything," Walker ordered, "including our training simulations and safety regulations." The Alliance observers, who had remained aboard throughout the mission, were busy writing their own reports. Their earlier dismissal of human methods had transformed into deep respect. "We never understood," one observer admitted to Cooper as the final checks were completed. "We thought your caution was weakness. Now we see it was wisdom." Cooper nodded as she reviewed the final data streams from the station. The ancient builders had left their knowledge for those who would be careful enough to find it, patient enough to understand it, and prepared enough to preserve it. "Fear taught us to be careful," she explained, "and being careful taught us to succeed." Back on the bridge, Walker received the final confirmation. The station was stable, its energy patterns now serving as both a repository of ancient knowledge and a stabilizing force for local spacetime. "All teams, prepare for departure," he ordered. As the crew moved to their stations, he added, "And well done, everyone. Your preparation and courage made this possible." The ESS Venture disconnected from the station with the same careful precision they'd shown throughout the mission. No detail was overlooked, no safety check skipped, even though the danger had passed. As they moved away, the Alliance sent a general broadcast to all member species. The humans' mission recordings played across the galaxy, showing how their careful approach and thorough preparation had transformed a crisis into a breakthrough. "The galaxy called us cowards," Walker addressed his crew one final time. "They laughed at our safety protocols, mocked our careful planning, dismissed our cautious approach. But we proved something important here. Courage isn't about being fearless. It's about facing your fears with preparation and determination." The crew stood a little taller at his words. Their fear hadn't disappeared during the mission, but their preparation had given them the confidence to face it. As the ESS Venture began its journey home, the station remained as a testament to human methodology. Its energy patterns now pulsed in harmony with their monitoring systems, no longer a threat, but a bridge to ancient wisdom. The Galactic Alliance would never again mistake caution for cowardice. The humans had shown them a different kind of courage, one born of respect for danger and the determination to face it prepared. In the years that followed, the galaxy changed. Species began adopting human safety protocols. Their excessive preparation became standard procedure. The word cowardly was replaced with prudent in descriptions of human methodology. And when new challenges arose, the galaxy looked not to its boldest species, but to those who would face danger with proper preparation and respect. The humans had taught them all a valuable lesson, that true courage wears a safety harness and carries a backup plan. The ESS Venture's mission became a legend, not for its success alone, but for how that success was achieved. It proved that sometimes the bravest thing you can do is admit you're afraid, and then prepare accordingly.